Hello, welcome back to Tarot for Our Times. I'm Sarah Sachs, your medium on the go. This is the Medium on the Go channel. And a lot has been happening recently. And I wanted to tie a few things in with how this administration is losing its strength reversed. I'm going to say they never really had it. It's a false kind of strength. It's a strength that is a lot of sound and fury, but in the end isn't going to mean very much. So actually this card, when it's right side up, it's about everything falling into place, so that the woman is able to tame the beast. And when this is in reverse, it's sort of like the beast takes over, but in a false sense of strength. And she's still got the upper hand, but he doesn't quite know it yet. And it's very interesting that that this is a card that I would select because with so many of them, it's the woman that is taking the upper hand in this, and this does seem to be a theme running throughout. So this is what I am calling From Idaho to DC. FOTUS is becoming strength reversed. Maybe he always was strength reversed, but showing to the contrary. That's kind of the thing with the strength reversed. So just a little background, if you haven't heard. In Coeur d'Alene on Idaho on Monday night, there was an incident with a woman at a Republican town hall. And having lived in neighboring Washington state, I can tell you from the refugees of people that I knew in Seattle who were from Idaho and said that they didn't want to go back. It's just, I thought I'll take their word for it. It probably makes the worst of West Virginia look like the intellectual hub of Boston or something like that. But it's pretty backwards. So this woman by the name of Teresa Bonenpaul was at a town hall meeting on Monday night, and she was with she wanted to express some views, and she shouted out a couple things, and then this Sheriff Norris tried to pull her out of there, and then all of a sudden some security people that were not dressed in anything that identified themselves as security, they dragged her out. They literally attacked her and dragged her out, and it's all, bless those phones, it's all there for posterity. And so they set up a GoFundMe for her legal fund, because of course they were going to charge her for assault for trying to defend herself. And as it turned out, on Tuesday, it seems as though they were singing a different tune. It was the Lear Asset Management, a security company, and they lost their license by the city for not complying with the city rules. And so the prosecutor is dropping the charges against her. And so it seems to turn out okay. I'm wondering if she's going to sue. If I were her, I would sue. So to me, that is pretty much of a metaphor for what's going on in MAGA world. It's basically standing up to the bully, and that the bully really has no teeth. And I would say that in this strength card reversed, the lion has no teeth. So that is going on, and we're going to see about the effect of that. And also, there's a lot of other stuff that's going on that's kind of piling up. There's the firing of the JAGs, which are lawyers in the military, and it could be illegal. Oh, I think that drunken Pete boy is that he's kind of responsible for that. He's losing court cases right and left, and in fact, a couple in the Supreme Court. Now, there's some infighting with the cabinet members who have decided that they are not that they are telling their people, do not answer those ridiculous emails from the Muskrat saying they have to say what they did. It's like show and tell time, kiddies. You have to show what you have done, and you know, who cares if it compromises national security. So then there is that. So the Muskrat, which means the Muskrat and the FOTUS, that's a clash they're having, and I'm sure that behind the scenes it's got to be very, very interesting. So, so those are the main things that are going on. It's the court cases, the cabinet, the infighting. So I would say that the Idaho thing is probably going to lead into all of this stuff piling on, and what the possibilities are, what it could mean. Now, a lot of us have said he's not going to make it the 4 years. Right after the election, I kind of had it at 2, but I think that time frame is definitely shrinking with every crazy thing. And I mean, that whole cabinet, it's the house of lunatics. There are people who are three-time voters who are losing their government job. That budget, I think it's passed the House. There are a lot of cuts to Medicaid and perhaps Medicare. Now, I'm wondering if that is filibusterable, because I would say that if the Democrats do not filibuster that, they're out of their minds. They need to send it back to the House and say, you must be kidding. So we have all of that going on, and I would say that in this weakened position, the Democrats have a chance to take advantage of it and stop whether they have the majority and everything. We still have some power, so this is the door is open. There's an opportunity. Now, I'm sure there's not one Democrat that voted for that ridiculous bill in the House, and they said it was won by a very slim margin, which pretty much tells me that's what happened. So we're going to first see about how this Idaho incident is reflective of what's going to happen and what it could indicate. So I've just about got these cards shuffled. I started actually shuffling them before. Okay, so I'm going to start off with good old Llewellyn deck, and what we have here is the Seven of Pentacles. Boy, this has been coming up a lot, both upright and in reverse. Yes, he is pondering these and doesn't look too happy. What's bearing fruit on this tree is not exactly what they had assumed was going to happen. And this fruit I'm going to say, has now turned poisonous because he's not touching it. So we have the bad toxic harvest. And I would say that the incident in Coeur d'Alene last night certainly indicates that. It's kind of like, yeah, we'll kick her out, have her arrested, yada, yada, yada. And then the whole world of media and public opinion turns right against them. So we have The energy with that is death reversed, and this is a warning. This is kind of like a near-death experience. For them to move forward, they're going to have to give up a lot of old stuff, and they just won't do it. So they're going to be stuck in I'm going to say kind of in a chronic illness with the death card, which means that they're going to be left behind. I am sure that a lot of people in that town and in that state, as a matter of fact, are just feel as though she was in the wrong. They're going to cling to that. And maybe some of the people that I knew that were fairly enlightened who left Idaho, maybe some of those people might stick around and change things. But boy, that's a monumental task. So underlying this whole thing, because I'm going to say it didn't come out of a vacuum. I'm saying this is the buildup of hostilities. Something tells me that sheriff, the god-awful Sheriff Norris, it's not the first time at the rodeo for him violating people's rights. And I have to say, this is all for entertainment purposes only. So what's the undercurrent? Oh, here we go. We've got fighting. I'm going to imagine from what my Idaho friends told me that this is probably a regular occurrence in the bars on Saturday night. So you've got this brawling. This is also actually, in all seriousness, this is going to down to the infighting and the ego struggles in this. It is a city, but it's kind of like has that small town mentality. So there's a lot of infighting, I'm going to say, that's going on with that town city council or whatever that was. And sometimes they will blow something out of proportion to deflect attention from that. So I'm going to say, I'm thinking that is very likely the what happened. I'm also going to say that is what this administration is doing. It's kind of causing these little fights and getting us upset and all this sort of thing, so that we will take the eye off the prize. But it doesn't last long. All it does is backfire, and it goes right back to this. You laid the foundation, you got those clowns in for security, and now the whole thing backfired, and now you're probably arguing about it now, about who was at fault. Okay. The King of Swords. I'm going to say that's probably the city prosecutor who decided, because the King of Swords can be judges in court, prosecutors, who's saying the truth of the matter. It's not, and he's probably a Republican too, but maybe not quite so. MAGA probably decided we don't need any more bad publicity. This is the kind of attention the town doesn't need. Besides, those guys acted like thugs for the world to see. So why don't we just drop this before it gets ugly? And I hope to God the woman doesn't sue. We're probably thinking she probably has every right to. I'm going to say, so this is it. So this was a voice of reason who pretty much at least put out the fire so it isn't going to be burning forever. Okay, so then we have the Queen of Cups in reverse, which is, I'm going to say, the jerk that called her the little girl and this and that whole ugly mob of people in that meeting who are now going to make themselves into victims about that awful woman that disrupted our meeting. But they really set it up. I think there's a history. They set it up so that would happen. So who does that sound like? I'm going to say this really is a parallel to what's going on in the national scene. So in opposition, we have the Three of Pentacles. And Usually this is the one with the artist in the church talking to the patrons, but here she is. She's out in the country, and this is a rural area. This is part of rural America. So I'm going to say she is working very carefully on her handcraft, and she's got the pentacles there, thinking about what are my services worth for this. So she's getting ready to negotiate and sell her sewing or her needlework, that sort of thing. And she looks pretty confident. So I'm going to say that I believe that this is probably Teresa Barenpol, who is, now that she's probably got to take care of whatever wound she got in that, who is now taking it easy, making her new plans, and maybe kind of negotiate a deal with the city and make some kind of a settlement and maybe put herself at a political advantage, because I think she ran for the state legislature. Being a Democrat didn't stand a prayer of a chance, of course. So in the past we have the horned one. This is the devil. This is kind of an interesting version of the devil. It's kind of like the devil out in the forest and kind of probably waiting for someone to come by. So this is so perfect because this is a very rural area. So I'm going to say that the town has been, that whole state has just been tied to the devil. I'm sure these people are voting against their own interests. That's a big farm area with potatoes and all that sort of thing. And it has ski, because I remember sometimes I knew some people that would go to Idaho to go ski. They have some nice skiing there. So I'm going to say that since the devil has always kind of had them to vote against their own interests, I'm going to say that the devil will get his due, because there's talks of boycotting their potatoes and checking the labels in the supermarket. Also, that the people in that northwest area, they can go skiing in the state of Washington, or they can go down to a lot of them go to Colorado, but I suspect that there will be boycotting of the winter sports and all the outdoor stuff too. So underneath is the conscious thoughts of the bulliers, and we have strength. Interesting. This is strength. Consciously, they think they're just strong. They've probably got every seat sewn up, because it's that I know there are progressives that live there, but they're just so few and far between. It's also big military. A lot of military people live there, if I can remember. So they do have this sense of strength. But it's interesting, because in this one they have, he's got the horse, he's got this other, looks like a boar or something else. So it's kind of like he can't do it on, it's funny, it's a male figure too. At least it looks like that. He can't do it on his own. He needs the help. So they think they're big, bad, and strong on the conscious level, which could be an illusion. Subconsciously, we've got the Six of Pentacles, which may be possibly their better nature in... let me see. Wait a minute. Let me take a look at... Okay. This is, since they're kind of small and watercolory, you have to look at these. Okay, I'm going to say that this is a mother figure giving out the charity to the kids. But with that goes, there's a price for that. And it may be, the extra chores, the this or that, emotional. There's probably an emotional price these kids are going to have to pay. So it's generation after generation, subconsciously. And this also puts it in the mindset of those people, and those black and brown people in the big city are just welfare people. I know that that's a very rural mentality thing. So let's see. And that this is also the stuff that MAGA has used, like the false sense of strength, but they can't do it alone. They've got to suck off other people. And also this whole thing of like, well, I'll give this out, but there will be a price, and the people in the city, the brown and black people, are abusing the system when actually, in actuality, living in, in these rural places, it's the white people in Tennessee and Idaho and all these places that they're the biggest takers on the social welfare. They're very poor people. So this is typical thing. This is what I'm going to say. This is the demographic of MAGA, and that this woman just got caught up in it because there were more of them than they are for. Oh wow, I can't believe it. So here we are. This is the present thing. This is again. This is the Six of Pentacles, and kind of doling it out, and we're going to make sure those scales balance and make sure that someone doesn't get too much or take too much from me. So that's kind of what's going on there. Interesting how these repeats come up. So we've got that, and going to say in the hopes and the fears. The hope is that everything will stay the same. They're not going to be moving anywhere. And that's very much like places like that. But also the fear of not moving forward and perhaps maybe going backwards. That I think deep down inside, they may know that there might be a price for their votes in keeping that state as red as a beet. Okay, so in the near future, the result of this will be, okay, lots of stuff happening. I'm going to say that this may not be quite over yet because I think that woman is pretty steamed. And I'm going to say I think the women, the ones that aren't the MAGA types, but the women that did not vote for FOTUS are, I think they're just angry, and there's going to be, and I'm ready to take action. So I'm going to, and it's going to be more, going to the street and wearing those little hats and all that. That's something, but it's got to be more than that. So I think this woman may hit them with a lawsuit, or at the very least, she'll be going on the talk show circuit and all that sort of thing. But it could be also representative of the American woman in general. It's going to be really angry that they have to pay the price of the stupid white women in red hats that really voted against all of their interests. So there will be some action. Definitely will be lots and lots going on. I don't think this story is going away, and I don't think the story of women who have gotten really screwed over from this administration is either. So, in a little bit going down the road, the Three of Wands. I have to say that this is the March thing that we're all talking about. I'm going to say this could be going parallel with the country. Now, I don't think people are going to be all getting up in the streets at Coeur d'Alene. And I'm going to say that there could be some people speaking out, and that the ships are coming in, and with perhaps more of the progressive people siding with Teresa. And I think March is, I would say that the chickens are coming home to roost as the boats sail in. And it's usually supposed to be a good thing, but in this case, it may be a little bit too much. So this is what the Three of Wands saying, that as we go on, that something's going to happen in March. I'm not seeing the collapse of the administration necessarily, but I think there are going to be a lot of things happening that could be moving that a little bit closer. And that people will be reacting. So a little bit further in the future, we have the Chariot. Things will be moving, but boy, they're really going to be interesting how this is different. They're going to be going through some really rough, turbulent waters with this. But maybe it's this crazy stuff that has to happen for things to change. So I see this in Idaho as a result of this, but I see this as telling the story of the U.S. at the same time. So we're going to see the result will be, here we go, Queen of Swords. I think that Teresa is going to be telling a lot of truth about what's been going on, and that may not go over too well, but she may use a lawsuit to communicate. Even if she only wins, she'll probably sue for a lot, but I would say even if she just wins for $1, she's got a big message to give, and I believe that the women in this country have a very big message to give and will not be silenced, because our rights are being threatened now. So what can we learn from this? What do we have here? The Magician. This is what happens when people misuse power. Everything will go wrong. Then I'm going to say people that have certain abilities, if they misuse them, they will pay the price. And I think that this is a story we're going to keep our eyes on, because I think it's going to be unfolding in the rest of the country on a bigger level. So I will say this, a lot of people have said this about Trump, that not so much in the business world, but I would say more in the staying out of jail and staying out of trouble, because he's been doing this stuff since he was in his 20s and 30s in New York. But he learned from Roy Cohn and his father how to delay to stay out of jail and dodge lawsuits and then countersue, the best defenses and all of that stuff. But I'm going to say that, like with strength going reverse, that's going to go reverse too, because people cannot get away with this forever. They really can't. So as I put these cards back, I'm just going to look at the rest of I think that is the really important story, but I'm going to say, I want to talk about the culmination of the rest of them, and it comes down to wanting to fire the military JAGs, losing court cases even in the Supreme Court. I think it's Amy and Roberts, Johnny Boy Roberts, they've become the swing votes. They become, Alito and Thomas are digging their heels in. Probably Kavanaugh, for entertainment purposes only, is just getting hammered someplace and wants to get the whole thing over with. So that's all. And he has been facing public ridicule. The court is a joke, and I don't think that Thomas and Alito really care, but I will say that I think Roberts is thinking about his legacy, about that, does he want to leave this earth knowing that he was chief justice of the clown court. So there's all of this stuff going on. And I'm going to say that he may be mellowing. I think Comey Bryant, I think she's no Sandra Day O'Connor, but she will be kind of a swing vote. And she may go along with the conservative stuff, but I think that if it gets to be too much, and I suspect that on some level she may not regret the overturning of Roe, but I think she regrets that immunity thing. That's leaving and the women have to be, because there's more attention on women on the Supreme Court, because Sandra Day O'Connor was the first. That was in my adulthood when she was, when I think it was George the First that appointed her. But she was the first, and that's all a new, fresh thing. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg went to the other side, knowing that she left a good legacy behind. And I think that Comey Bryant is thinking of that as well. And she's the only conservative member, a female member of that court, so there are eyes on her. And maybe she does, I get a sense that maybe she would like to be remembered as a Sandra Day O'Connor type, who was another conservative, but she was very swingy. They do change. That's the interesting thing. They do change. But so at any rate, I think that they may go with him on some stuff, but they're not going to be as much of the slam dunk as he was probably hoping. So let's see about what all of this is going to be, because this is like all kinds of chaos. Oh, and he's a clown on the world stage, and Macron really kind of made mincemeat out of him and all this stuff. So let's see how, and I don't think he's coping too well. So let's see how all of this is also adding to the weakness of and turning the strength card into reverse. So we have here the 9 of Cups in reverse. Okay, 9 of Cups in reverse. When this is upright, they're in their own comfort. It's so comfortable, it's almost boring. And I think they figured they were just going to steamroll everything and it was going to be all kinds of comfy. But I would say all of these cups represent, each one represents some. Maybe this one is the rest of the world hating us. That one could be the Supreme Court not cooperating. That could be the other court cases, the infighting between everybody. Don't need to go over. I mean, all of these. So, and this comes down to the be careful what you wish for card. And I think there's a lot of people close to him in that administration who are thinking, what did I thought I was going to have this cushy job, and it's all turned upside down. So what's the energy with that is the Page of Cups. And I would say that the Page of Cups is, it's a very youthful thing. I'm going to say emotionally, they are at this adolescent stage, and he's looking in the cup and wondering, is there something with the fish? Is there something fishy going on here? I know I'm supposed to be beginning something. I don't know what. So this isn't great energy to be crossing this card. And it may be, I'm going to say, as he looks into that, it's on the emotional level. It's really having second thoughts about this. So in the opposition, we have, wow, I can't believe how much this comes up. The illusions that they have themselves and what they're feeding the public. So this isn't going too well for them. So underneath all of this, we have first, We have the world. I'm going to say that this is the completion of the cycle. It's the last, supposed to be the last card of the tarot. It's like all the business is finished. I'm going to say that in this case, it's not a good thing. What this is telling me, with all of this stuff coming up, that whatever power they thought they have, that cycle may be over, and it's only on it. It's whatever, because the strength card in reverse is like whatever blustery strong thing they're doing, it's built on a foundation of sand. And it may look strong in the beginning, but it's going to collapse. It could be this budget bill. It's like it's everything. And then we have the King of Swords in reverse. Wow, there's a lot of stuff about lying. This is about the lying of people in high places, from the executive branch to the legislative branch, like that Mikey Johnson boy. He lies like a rug. And people in the Supreme Court have been lying about what they think their accomplishments. So this is part of the foundation of sand. And this is very weak. When you've got to lie, you've got to remember, you've got so much stuff to remember. So, okay, so we have the lying here. Then we have the Ten of Wands in reverse, which is about, I'm going to say that in this short amount of time, people are tired of carrying the burden and they want to get rid of it, which tells me that all the loyal foot soldiers and the people in the administration may be starting to look after their own backs, in the fact that they really don't want to be thrown under the bus, and they don't want to be taking any raps for him. So there's trouble in paradise, and it's going to get worse. So in the past, with all of this, I'd say maybe the beginning of we have the moon. This is total lunacy that's come into it from the very beginning. This is people with very, very bad mental problems for entertainment purposes only, with incredibly bad, very bad mental things. There's alcoholism, abuse of women, people cozying up to Russia, and I did a whole reading about that. I mean, like with the Tulsi Gabbards, and I think that woman she was sort of like the darling of the the Bernie people. And I got into Facebook fights. I said, that woman's crazy. I'm telling you, she's going to turn out like crazy, and that I would be trusting her loyalty. So we just have the old poochies in here howling at the moon. And this is how it began. It's not sustainable. Maybe one or two of them, but that's everybody in that. Oh, and then we have Robert Kennedy. Oh, Jr. Oh boy, with his past drug problems that went way too far. I think he went on a trip that he never came back from. Plus the fact that I know from having been to meetings and stuff that heroin is the biggest relapse drug, and that brings one day at a time to a whole new level, and the people who have been addicted to heroin are the most vulnerable for relapse. So we'll see how he does under all the. I'm not saying he's going to, but I'm going to say he would be a little bit too vulnerable, and I would have been thinking twice about this, with the understanding one slip and you're out. But no, those crazy lunatics are just not thinking of that. So he's vulnerable addiction-wise. Okay. So we have the conscious. I don't even know if I want to go there. The conscious thoughts of this administration with all the stuff that's going on now is, again, Ten of Wands in reverse. I think that people are wondering how much of this they want to carry, and it's usually, I think this might be subconscious, but I think it's really coming to the surface now, is that in picking people like that, they are definitely going to be thinking of themselves first. So that will be the conscious thing on their mind. Then we have on the subconscious level of, did I really do I really want to be here with this bad harvest? I mean, this woman is walking. She sees what she's planted, and she came with her basket to harvest it, and she said, I don't think so. So this is going on with a lot, I would say, with the aides, the cabinet members, their staff. They're looking at this and they're saying, this is pretty rotten. And even in the most selfish way of, of saying, oh, I could get power from this. I said, no, this is, these are poisonous fruits growing on a poisonous tree, and they may be deep down inside, maybe they're thinking, I've got to find a way to get out of this. But it's in the subconscious, so it's not there yet, but it will probably rear its ugly head. So what's going on now here with this? Okay. Trying to make the deal, the dealing and the bargaining. He's always about making the deals. I'm going to say that he could be on the world stage. Oh, and Ukraine. Let's not forget about Ukraine, which is another thing. And Macron really telling him how it was and how that money, he told him how that money worked. So I'm going to say that's Macron standing as he was on the upper level, and he came, he schmoozed, and then he zinged at that press conference. So he's saying, this is what we've got. We're going to get paid back with Russian money, so take it or leave it. And I know what I'm talking about. And then, so he was standing on that bench above him and the staff. So that was very recent. So that's another thing, that realizing that this is a real strength in reverse, because he's got the upper hand. They won't admit it. They're all in complete denial. They won't admit it. So let us see with the hopes and the fears. So the hope is wishing on the star, wanting to be the star, but see, everybody wants to be the star, so they're all going to fear. Oh, I'm going to say this is especially true with FOTUS and the muskrat. They're both vying for the spotlight, and they want to be the star. So that is definitely a sign of weakness. And then all the little underlings, they are posturing themselves to who's going to manifest, who's going to out-manifest the other one, to see who's going to be the star. So then coming up a little bit in the near future, we have, it's all about the money, but it's about the corrupt money and the money they are stealing from us in our programs. That is going on. So it's going to be not really good for their future, as going back to Idaho, as people see they're getting screwed. The farmers are starting to see it. So this is the money that they're taking from us, and they're getting, and the muskrat is really counting on a windfall, but they may not get it. It's in reverse. This could backfire. And in the more distant future, we have possibly, let's see, the Ten of Swords in reverse is they're just waiting for these swords to see how they're going to fall, who's going to stab who in the back. I would also say that this is also talking about, since it's in reverse, talking about a false sense of security with some of them, thinking that maybe that isn't going to happen. But it seems like whatever position this card is in, those swords are just hovering. They're very close. So it's kind of like waiting for this. Is it going to be waiting for the swords to fall, or is it going to be that they think they're going to go away? So there we've got that, and that to me, that's going to be a lot more discord. So as all of this, tomorrow it's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff. So, or later today, since this is coming out in the morning. So then we have with this, what is going to be the outcome? I'm going to say like this March thing is, there's going to be something. Okay. The Page of Wands comes out with, they're the messengers. He's coming with the message. He's holding that wand pretty, he's holding it at arm's length with the warning of, if you get too close to the fire, you're going to get burned. But I suspect they're not going to, that Felon 45 and his gang, along with the muskrat, they won't pay attention to that. But they will be warned. They really will be warned that something's about ready to burst forth. And the lesson to be learned for, I guess, for all of us, but this is going to be crucial because they won't listen. So I think this is just more and more going towards the demise of this crazy administration. So what can we learn from this? The truth always comes out. It's going to come out, and I'm going to say, seeing cards like the Moon in reverse and 2 times the 10 of Wands carrying the burden. I'd say that in reverse, that burden's about to drop, which means people will be spilling beans. And we've got our good old 7 of Cups, illusion, coming out of the shadows. I'm going to say that we're going to learn that the truth always comes out. That's a very big theme. And we may want to take that into our daily lives if we want to live, if we think that maybe living like they do and, taking money that doesn't, that comes in a shady way, and people throwing each other under the bus, and the blackmail and the subterfuge and all of that, it all comes out. So I've said this before, so I'm going to say, okay, you guys in Congress that have stepped out on the misses, is how they would probably say in places like Idaho, you may want to fess up and take the consequences, because doing that yourself will be much better than having one of the henchmen do this. And I'm just going to say, it's just, when things pile up, what happens is that, the truth really comes out. And this sun is a real glarer. And this is all about, I'm going to say that the astrology is going to be playing a very big part. They're talking about these planets lining up. I don't know a lot about that, except everybody is getting hysterical over it. So I guess it's a big deal. And I would think that with all of this hype on this, that means that there will be truths coming out. And maybe what this March thing is going to be, is truths coming out. So just as we've been told to stock up the larder, I think people may be wanting to go and open up, because when you tell the truth and you take the consequences at home, they don't have any more power over you. They have no more power. So I would say that, yep, the walls are probably closing in, but I do want to say that Idaho thing is really kind of like the story of MAGA world, but, You know, she fought and she has stood up to the bullies and she wins. So this is what we have to do, and this is what our lawmakers have to do, is because, you know, they may threaten their families, but I would say that a lot of time their threats just do something to protect them and they will back down. I'm sure of it. So I think this is a very important lesson to learn from all of this. So I'm going to end this now and see you soon. Bye. Oops.